Baltimore Ravens take on the New York Giants on the road this Sunday. Baltimore looks to start building some momentum into the playoffs coming off a bye. The Giants are banged up and going with their third-string quarterback. Will the Ravens take care of business and cover the largest spread of the year? Or can the Giants shock the world and get an upset? Let's dive into all the details in this game preview episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans, Giants fans, if you're watching? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. It feels like forever since the Ravens have played football, but we got the Giants on the road this week coming off a bye. The Ravens are favored by 16, some places 16.5. It's the largest spread of the year, so the Ravens should take care of business. They're fully healthy. The Giants are pretty banged up. We'll actually start there. Let's dive into these injury reports. The Ravens don't have anyone out. The only people that are questionable are TJ Tampa, Michael Pierce, Sanusi Kane, and Adisa Isaac. I would expect Michael Pierce and TJ Tampa to potentially play if they want to play him. He could be inactive. He's a rookie. But Michael Pierce will probably make his return. And then Adisa Isaac and Sanusi Kane, also rookies. They may or may not be active. I don't think that impacts the game too much. And then moving over to the Giants, they are extremely banged up. I mean, we know Dexter Lawrence is out. They're also ruling their guard out, John Runyon. We got Drew Phillips out. Their starting linebackers out. Their backup D linemen's out. They got some DBs out. We know Drew Lock is out. This is a very lengthy injury report, and we are not getting the Giants at full strength by any means. This should be a get-right game for the Ravens. I know I've had some Giants fans throughout the week comment on the videos, and they're like, oh, the Ravens lost to the Raiders and the Browns. Like, anyone can be beat in the NFL. That is true. Anybody can be beat in the NFL. The Raiders and Browns losses were bad. The Browns loss to me is a little different because it's an AFC North matchup, and no matter what the records are, man, these division matchups, especially in the AFC North, you can just toss the records out the window. It's just never clean ball, man. I feel like it's always close, tight games. The teams know each other so well. So the Browns loss, little different, but yeah, the Raiders loss was bad in week 2, no doubt. This is still a different type of game, in my opinion. The Ravens are coming off of a bye. They're 4 games away from the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. They're fully healthy. I mean, there's no one out. This is a full Baltimore Ravens squad going against the Giants, who have one of the worst records in the league, are completely banged up, are without multiple stars and their starting quarterbacks. And I'm very aware of the talent that they do have. We're going to go over both sides of the ball. I just feel like this is a game that the Ravens should win handedly and start this momentum heading into the playoffs. But you never know. The Ravens have beat themselves many times, and this game could be closer than it should be. But let's dive into the specifics of this game. We'll start with the Giants offense going against this Ravens defense. The Ravens defense has struggled for a lot of the season, but these last 3 weeks, they've actually looked a lot better. They went from the worst pass-ranked defense, and they're starting to move up now. I think they're playing probably middle-of-the-road pass defense right now, and that's mainly due to benching Marcus Williams, cutting Eddie Jackson. They were our 2 starting safeties for the majority of this year. We've replaced them with our Darius Washington and then moved Kyle Hamilton deep, so that has worked out. That has really elevated this Ravens defense, and also getting a guy like Michael Pierce back is really going to help out our D-line. And having Travis Jones get another week of rest with this bye, I think that ankle's got to be feeling better. I think our D-line is going to have a nice rotation. We got a lot of bodies now. We were pretty thin for the last few weeks, but the Ravens are healthy, man, and I think this defense is on the rise. Going against the Giants offense that has struggled and is starting their third-string quarterback in Tommy DeVito. Now, I watched a little bit of Tommy DeVito tape to kind of prepare myself for this because I really haven't watched a ton of the Giants or Tommy DeVito specifically, and the kind of big takeaway is that he really doesn't make a ton of mistakes, but he holds on to the ball unless there's like an easy decision to be thrown to. So I really think that this is an opportunity for the Ravens to get a lot of sacks in this game. And that could lead to strip sacks and turnovers, no doubt. He could throw an interception, but he doesn't really force a ton of balls. He's more holding on to it too long if the read's not obvious. That's kind of my big takeaway from watching his game. But he does have one elite weapon that can kind of game wreck always, and that is Malik Neighbors, man. He is the freak talent that is going to dominate this league for a long time, and all respect in the world to Malik Neighbors. I think that the Giants got a great player with him. And I don't know how often Tommy DeVito is going to be able to feed him the ball, but they're going to try, and I think Malik Neighbors can have some success on our corners, no doubt. I think we should really put a lot of our attention towards him. We need to know where Malik Neighbors is every single snap, because that is the guy that they are going to be able to move the ball with. They also use Darius Slayton and Bellinger at tight end. Those are also some outlets and other options, but they're not Malik Neighbors, man. I think Malik Neighbors is the one weapon that you need to focus on defensively. And their offensive line isn't awful, but they're pretty banged up. They got Runyon out in this game. I think the tackles are going to be back, but that interior is going to be vulnerable, and the Ravens' defensive line is ridiculous. Matabike, Travis Jones, getting Michael Pierce back. I really think that we're going to get a lot of interior pressure, and I just see a lot of sacks for the Ravens. If that leads to turnovers, awesome, but I really think that the Ravens are going to have 6+ sacks in this game. They got Tracy at running back, who's been a bright spot for them. He's had a really good season. I like his quickness, explosiveness. I think that he is solid. He is a weapon that they're going to try to use, but the Ravens' run defense is the best in the NFL, and that is what gives me confidence going against this. I think that the Giants run block better than they pass protect, so they could have some success on the ground, but no teams really had that much success on the ground. Saquon Barkley late in the game did a little bit against us, but other than that, the entire year we've shut every single team's running game down. I really don't see this being much different. That D-line is going to dominate, and especially if they end up playing from behind. We'll talk about the Ravens offense in a second, but if the Ravens offense gets out to a 2-score plus lead, the Giants are going to have to run a lot less often, which is then, like I said earlier, going to probably lead to a lot more sacks. But in saying all that, it's not like I think the Giants aren't going to be able to move the ball at all. It's just they're really banged up going against a full-strength Ravens team with a defense on the rise. I don't see them putting together consistent drives. Can they get a beautiful drive or two where they execute really well, they get a touchdown? Yeah, of course. I think Malik Neighbors is going to make some plays in this game, and the Giants are going to put up some points, but I really would be shocked if they're putting up over 20. I think the Ravens defense is going to make Tommy DeVito really uncomfortable. I think they're going to stop the run, and there's going to be a lot of pressure, so that just naturally makes it tough to put together drive after drive after drive. So I do have the Ravens defense kind of dominating this game. I think a ton of sacks are going to happen, maybe a turnover or two, hopefully a turnover or two. We haven't had a ton of those this year, but I do think the Giants will have some bright spots. They do have some talent. They're just too banged up. They're not playing for anything. So the Ravens defense definitely has the edge in this game and should hold this team under 20. But let's move over to the other side of the ball, the Ravens offense versus the Giants defense. And it's a similar story for the Giants defense. They're just banged up, man. They do have a lot of talent on that side of the ball, but Dexter Lawrence is out, which is a huge missing piece of that defensive line. If you combine Dexter Lawrence with a Brian Burns and a Thibodeau, like all of a sudden that's a really dominant defensive line, but you take Dexter Lawrence out of the interior, they're now more vulnerable. And I think their backup D tackles out, their starting linebackers out, they got a lot of defensive backs banged up. They're just a really banged up team right now. They're not playing for anything, and the Ravens are coming off of a bye fully healthy. Now the Ravens' weakness on offense is their offensive line, specifically their guard play, Patrick McCary, Daniel Falele. That is definitely the weakness, but with a Dexter Lawrence not there, I just feel like this is a get-right game for the Ravens' offensive line. The Ravens are going to be able to run the ball in this game. The Giants are one of the worst run defenses in the league. They're one of the worst tackling teams in the league. I think that their corners, their D-backs have struggled tackling, and having a guy like Derrick Henry coming at you is probably the hardest tackle that you could have possibly in the NFL. So I just really feel like the Ravens are going to be able to run the ball, control this game. I do think the Ravens will probably be able to run kind of wherever they want in this game, but the strength of the Giants right now would be stopping the interior runs. So I would think that the outside runs would hit a little bit more, make their corners and safeties try to tackle Henry outside of their linebackers and defensive linemen. I think that their backup linebacker, Micah McFadden, he's more of a run stopper, So these guys that they're plugging in are probably better to stop the run than they would be in pass coverage. So I really think that the outside runs could hit a bit more, and we're going to see some arm tackles and Derrick Henry busting loose for some big runs. Lamar Jackson keeping it on a read option to the outside, things like that. I really think the Ravens are going to have a lot of success running the ball in this game. If they do get up big in this game, and I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but if if they do get up big in this game, we might see some Keaton Mitchell or Rasheen Ali, whoever gets the call there. I think we could see some different backs in this game. The Ravens have a lot of games coming up. The Steelers next Saturday, and then a quick turnaround Wednesday on Christmas Day to play the Texans. So they might want to try and preserve Henry a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be the case earlier in this game. I think that Henry's going to get his. I think the Ravens are going to have a lot of success on the ground, which then leads naturally to a lot of success through the air off of play action. They got a lot of guys in the secondary banged up. Their main backup linebacker is more of a run stopper. They struggle in coverage a little bit. I know they do have Isaiah Simmons, who's like a hybrid linebacker safety. He's definitely solid. And then they got good edge rushers too. Like Brian Burns and Thibodeau are no scrubs. Those are great edge rushers. But if you only have pressure from the edge, Lamar is usually able to kind of dance out of that. We also don't have terrible tackle play. I know Roger Rosengarten's a rookie, but he plays well, man. He's got a bright future. I think that he can hold it down. And if we only have one edge rusher kind of getting home, Lamar neutralizes that. Lamar is going to be able to escape out of that. He does it every single week. And then on the other side, we got Ronnie Stanley, who I think is really going to neutralize one of those rushers. So I don't really expect, even though they have a lot of talent at edge, when it's only that, when that's the only threat, really, I just don't expect a lot of success because we can neutralize things like that. We played the Cowboys and Michael Parsons was neutralized. You don't even see him in a game like that. The Ravens need to win the trenches battle on both sides of the ball, and that's more important probably for the Ravens offense because this offensive line has to build some confidence too. I think that this is a game that they can actually dominate. This isn't one of those Steeler or Eagles fronts. Maybe if Dexter Lawrence was there, I'd be a lot more concerned, but right now as it stands, what we're going against, this is not equivalent to a Pittsburgh or a Philadelphia front, which is who we have struggled against. We struggle against teams with really, really dominant fronts across the board, getting a lot of interior pressure, and I just don't see that happening in this game. So the Ravens should be able to move the ball, specifically on the ground. I don't even think that we need to have an air raid unless it's just play action after a successful run game. I think the Ravens are going to be able to control this game throughout on the ground. This is one of the weaker run defenses in the NFL going against maybe the best rushing offense in the NFL. So the Ravens need to assert their dominance and go out there and run the ball. So we'll wrap this up with a score prediction. I got the Ravens winning this one pretty handedly. I'm going with 34-17. I think the Ravens kind of take their starters out like halfway through the fourth. I really don't see this one being that close. Maybe in the beginning, Ravens are coming off a bye, could look a little flat early. We've had many starts where in the first quarter, the Ravens offense is not really clicking, or at least in the first half, we see a lot of stalling or offense falling flat, usually due to the offensive line or penalties. But if the Ravens play a clean game, limit those penalties, take care of the ball, don't have any turnovers, I think the Ravens win this one handedly. I really don't see this being a matchup where the Giants should keep this game close. If it is close, who knows, man? Anybody could win. I agree that anybody could win in the NFL, but out of every single game the Ravens have played this year, this is the biggest mismatch, and that is why the spread is as high as it is. I mean, Vegas knows. Everyone kind of knows here. I think everyone in the world's picking the Ravens in this game, which is a little scary. But the Ravens coming off a bye at full strength with only 4 games left. The playoffs are right around the corner, and we're going to be in it. I just don't see the Ravens not showing up for this game. I think this is a game that the Ravens go out and look like the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll see. Anything could happen, but let me know what you guys are thinking. Give me some bold predictions, score predictions. How do you see this game playing out? If you're a Giants fan watching this, what did I miss that is going to give you guys a better chance to win this game? I definitely don't know the Giants nearly as well as I know the Ravens, that's for sure. I try to educate myself as much as possible, but it's impossible to cover every single team. That's why local media is always better than national media, because national media just doesn't know as much. It's just the reality of the situation. So let me know what I missed, what I didn't cover, what are the ins and outs of the Giants situation. And I appreciate all of you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Go Ravens. And I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.